Your submission accepted for a conference. The real title is just empiricism. We're going to be talking about empiricism. A little bit about myself. So this is a picture of me. This is in French Guiana. I studied ecology, and this picture was like, I was like 24, so I barely recognize myself. And what I'm doing there is I'm measuring the photosynthesis. Oh yeah, that's the right. I'm measuring the photosynthesis of a leaf. And basically it's the project I was doing is we were looking at how photosynthesis of the leaf changes depending on the height of the leaf in the canopy. Yeah, and as a scientist, you try to control the whole system, and basically what you're trying to do is you're simplifying a problem. Simplifying it far enough that you can start measuring stuff and get reasonable conclusions. That works with plants. My dad is a grower here in India, and he does the same thing. He does consultancy. He measures the inputs and the outputs for the plants, and based on that, he gives advice to the farmers. But that's not always the case. So in this example, what you're seeing here is a food chain, a food web. And basically the arrows, they show the relationships between all these species. And as you can see, it's quite complex. I chose this picture because right now ice bears are a bit in trouble. So what scientists are wondering, it's what's going to happen with this system if this animal disappears. Nobody knows. That's how complex this system is. So we have all this information, we have this model, and the only thing scientists can do is they can guess. They try to use their scientific information, experience from other situations. I think the best guess is that if this species would disappear, that there's going to be an effect on the complete food web. Probably no other species will disappear, but the populations will start to vary more extremely, because the ice bear, it takes care of, it keeps the populations in balance. That's the major role of predators. So I studied ecology. I never did anything with it. Sometimes I felt a bit bad about the fact that maybe it was a bit of a waste of time, until I became a Scrum Master and I discovered systemic thinking. Because what I discovered is that ecology is basically systemic thinking in a biological context. The key word here is complexity. So this is the definition according to Wikipedia. I'll let you read it. But the most important part of this definition is the last bit. Yeah, the results are unpredictable. They're non-linear. They're random. And this is hugely important because that's what agility is about. Yeah, agility is a way to deal with complexity. Yeah, so this is something which is such an important part of our work that I think it should be front and center. If you think about the way we look at organizations, we have to start looking at them as complex systems. And this is a good example. You probably recognize this. It's a causal loop diagram. It's similar to the ecosystem with all the animals, except it's for a team. Yeah, so you have all these different factors that affect a team, specifically the motivation of a team. And you can tweak them, you can move things around, and you can have a vague idea what the effect might be, but you can never be sure. And this is really important because a lot of the time we try to approach our teams, our organizations, as if they were linear systems, where we can relate a situation to a possible problem. And what happens is because we don't understand the whole system, we might be trying to fix something, and without realizing it, we're making the problem worse. Yeah, so this is a very valuable way of trying to understand a system. This is a very complicated example. I have another one, which is a lot simpler. So that's the important thing about complexity. Try not to understand the whole system, because that's too much. Try to find patterns within that system. Try to find the loops. Yeah, because those loops will give you insights how you can fix problems. So in this case, flow. My talk yesterday was about flow. It's one of my hobbies. In this causal loop, what I'm exploring is the possibility that flow has a positive effect on motivation. If a team is in flow, they're enjoying their work, they're more effective. Therefore, the motivation goes up. As the motivation goes up, collaboration increases, which leads to more flow. And at the same time, motivation motivates the team to learn more, to develop themselves. Yeah, so this is a double positive loop. You can also have a negative loop, etc. There's all kinds of ways of dealing with this. So that's what we're going to do now together as a team. We're going to create a causal loop diagram. Just to get a little bit used to the idea, just to show you how it works, trying to create these causal loop diagrams. And the question we're going to try to solve is this. So why do we accept what others tell us? So for example, an Agile coach telling us to do Scrum, instead of trying to understand the team ourselves and making a decision for ourselves. Yeah, it's a very basic idea, but it's actually very far-reaching. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to give you some time first to think about it for yourself, and I want you to think about the causes that leads to this. Yeah, so why do we do this? One example would be lack of time. Yeah, so take a minute to think about possibilities, and after that, we'll take the next step. Any questions? Cool. Yeah, you don't have to write them down yet. We will do that in the next step. Just think it for yourselves. If it helps to write it down, that's fine too. Okay, that was about a minute. That was really fast, but no worries. I want you to find a partner now, and I'll give you around 2 minutes to discuss what you've been thinking about. Don't worry about writing it yet. We will do that in the next step. If you're at a table with 3 people, you might want to invite someone from a table with 5 people. Maybe one of you guys wants to join them too? Since you're 5 and they're 2. They're so lonely, yeah? No problem. Thanks. Okay, so some really good conversations taking place. The next step is I want you to together at your table with the group, some of you are 3, some 5, some 4, start deciding which are the most important causes at your table and write them down on a post-it. Yeah, so 1 would be great, 2 is fine too, 3 might be a bit too much, but just don't worry too much about it. Exactly, yeah. Very good point. When you write your ideas on the post-its, try to use capital letters so that people can actually read it. What do you say? Yeah, just an example. Oh, you didn't get any post-its? Yeah, you need to stick them on the wall. Do you mind if I take some of your post-its? Because there's other tables and they don't have any. Poor people. Here you go. Yeah, you need to stick it on the wall. Sorry. Here you go. Preferably. Here you go. 1 point per post-it, so we can move them around and play around with them. Sorry about that.
So we are not listening to yourself. We didn't listen to you. We took 2.
Oh, it's fine. No problem. Well, let's wait until the rest. So the conversations are dying down. Is everybody ready? Always. Always. Born ready. Or never. So I've got the question. I have it here. So this is our problem. And what we're going to do now is we're going to collect the causes on this side. Yeah, who wants to go first? Here we go. Can you tell us what you guys shared?
we have identified two main reasons what holds us back, two reasons for following others. First one is lack of expertise in the topics we discuss or the subject we handle. Second one is courage, lack of courage also can hold us back, from expressing ourselves.
Yeah, cool. Next table. Who wants? Yeah, I didn't warn you that this was going to be an interactive session because I didn't want you to run away. Yeah, I was afraid of that. I've got tape. Here we go. Then give them to me. I'll take care of it. Next table. Oh, thank you very much. You guys over there are having a nice conversation. Maybe you want to share your post-its? Yeah. No, you can give them to me.
Yeah, these are the ones. So, a bit of our discussion said that maybe there's not enough time to experiment and learn, so better accept what others are saying. And also, one reason for accepting may be that we are hearing from an expert who already has done some research and has enough knowledge. So it's better to accept it rather than spending time and experimenting and learning yourself. And one of the point from Raj was that maybe a doer kind of mindset instead of thinking mindset. So that's one thing.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You guys. Oh. I have a wonderful assistant helping me with the tape.
Does somebody call them out then?
Yeah?
So the first one is power gradient. So it's a boss that's maybe got the power to, I don't know, hire or fire you or whatever, so you just got to kind of go along with it. So that's the first one. The second one was it depends, because we might not actually do that the whole time. It's the situation.
Yeah.
And the third one is kind of like 3 in 1, is that authority bias is that they've got lots of qualifications, so they probably know what they're talking about. Reference to Scott's talk about certifications. And it sounds plausible enough. So I think I should go along with it because I don't have the time to research it properly.
Yeah. Oh, this is too deep. I'm going to get into trouble with this.
We got some more for you.
Put them on the left side. On the left side.
So we went deep into the culture as well.
So, of course.
Cultural norms, of course.
Yeah.
So the boss is always right.
Yeah.
That goes hand in hand. You can also call it like a culture of hierarchy, which is also the power gradient thing.
Yeah.
It can also be an issue of confidence. So if you're very junior, you feel that you have no say.
Yeah.
And seniority that goes with that feeling, lack of confidence. And now we're passing.
You guys really got carried away.
Well, we're no slackers.
All right, so we got something similar actually. So hierarchy and less flexibility to say no to the bosses. So that was our first one. The second one is lack of time to validate and assess if your approach is actually better and worth going against the previous one. That was second. Underestimating ourselves. So you could perceive that what is being done already by another person or suggested by another person is a better option because you're not confident that maybe the one that you're suggesting is better. So lack of confidence. This is again a little on the similar lines, not willing to challenge because you don't want to confront the other approach. So
Yeah. Thank you very much. So you guys, the last table.
So we absolutely agree, and we are in line with our team,
Fantastic.
the other half of our team. So yes, so our point was hierarchical setup. In a typical hierarchy, we beg not to differ with the bosses, and we also sometimes have a lack of expertise, right? So if I'm not aware of any particular tool or platform, I may just accept what they are telling me to do instead of like going and digging about it. Later in my time, I would do that, but at that point, I need to get that task done. So I don't have the expertise. Let's do what they are saying. So that's there. And also, like, we think we are also seeking validation. So even if I am not confident or I am having a self-doubt about what I'm doing right now, I'll still seek validation. So if I'm trying to seek validation, I will not, I'll just do what they are saying, and then after like whatever process I had, I will try to, if I am, instead of going for X, I'm going for Y, then in my time, I will try to validate that if it's on
Yeah,
point or not.
yeah. Yeah, I understand. Cool. Thank you very much. Oh.
Everything was the same but one,
Yeah.
and it is a sense of belonging.
Ah.
To belong to some.
Yeah, peer pressure. Yeah. So we have quite a bit of a collection here. I think they're all really, really good. Thank you very much. I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to help me again because we're going to do the second part now. We're going to look at the effects now. Yeah, so we have the problem. On one side, we have the causes. Yeah, and all kinds of different things. Now we're going to start thinking about the effects, and we're going to put them on this side of the problem. So again, I'm going to give you a minute to think about what effect this pattern has on developers, on your teams, on people in the organization. Yeah, just 1 minute to think of it for yourself, and after that we'll do the couples and finish with the tables again. Okay?
Did you have causes? But this is the people. So people not reacting when it we talk again everything clearly, right? I think people talk only when it's part of the upbringing, so that we so they are not telling it clearly.
So that's 1 minute. Now, in couples, just take a couple of minutes to share your ideas.
Now we have to. Okay, now like you were saying, you accept it. I accept what you say. If you say something, I accept it. Problem is, what happened, I have seen in my experiences, people will differ to it at some point. They will be always accepting it. At one point, they will be different. When their personal, if you think maybe people personal preference. For example, saying that if they will be blamed for a failure later, they don't want to take the credit now, so they speak up. It will be too little late. So how do you put it back? Like feedback will be very late. One of the effects I would say is feedback will be very feedback is not late. Yeah. Maybe they will want to think now. First they will late feedback would be a lot of morale, demotivated individuals. Failure for positive. You have to put rework everything, right? So that's what we say, right? So on the sum up, we have discussed multiple points, right? Yeah, maybe one by one. Are you write it down?
So we're moving on to the final step. Before we proceed, my Scrum heart is dying right now, and I told myself I wasn't going to do this, but I have to do it anyway. When, you see all the post-its are kind of like sticking out like that? Yeah, you're a Scrum Master too. When you take the post-it off, try to do it like this, because then they will stick better. Yeah, yeah. Try to just gather around your tables and write 1, 2, maybe 3 effects that we can share together. I know you guys are going to have a lot more. That's a fine. Since you already have them, you could do a kind of like a prioritization. Choose the best one.
Accepting what other tells us. So we can't make the prioritization. You do it.
We had a huge lack of time and there is a short conversation going along the through. We have it, but we don't look. Leads to the lack of sense of ownership. Whatever they are doing, there will be collective ownership instead of individual. It's not going to be teamwork. No physical vision. No physical vision. No physical. So what I have is when you travel, when you want to be considering of it, you will say go and fail the engine somewhere. The track will.
Okay, so the conversations are dying down. I think we're there.
And the output is going to be as good as the source. So it's powerful, then it's.
You guys want to start? So we're going to start sharing. The first table is ready.
So we we have addressed the the issue we have mentioned that if team doesn't collaborate effectively, that might lead to lack of clarity, lack of peripheral vision, and we end up only having tunnel vision. So that might impact the quality of the deliverables. So that is one course we have identified.
We didn't have the time to write the last point, which we say is it is as good as the starting point, the end point.
Yes.
Because if the first thought, if you are agreeing, and if that thought is itself a faulty one, all the others are going to fail in sequence.
Yeah, and that you mean for the second part, thinking for ourselves. Yeah, there's a risk involved. Yeah, feel free to write it down and share it.
We also want to add one more point. And this particular, like if this behavior exists, the team might lack a collective ownership. Team will be working in silos, and that might create a lot of confusion, and it might create a lot of moral issues.
Yeah, so the effect of this is that you get silos. Yeah. Yeah, cool. You guys.
Yeah, so I'll start with the positives. So the positive is that we'll have win-win on time. Coming to the negatives, the team will lack motivation. They will not be able to connect to the purpose of the decision made. This will further reduce the critical thinking of the team, and will create followers in place of leaders, and the process can be error prone.
Yeah, brilliant. I like that one. Create followers instead of leaders. Over to you guys.
So one thing is innovation, right? So if you're getting some suggestions, you need to think about it. What is your opinion, other team's opinion, and you can have some innovation out of it, a different approach, right? And that can be more beneficial than what you just suggested. That is one of the thing. Then how we are thinking, like the approach that we are taking. There could have been kind of an opportunity out of it to learn on new things when you actually execute what you had in your mind. But if you're not telling that, you won't be able to execute, experiment, and learn from it, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Then definitely the morale of the team, right? I mean, if you're not, probably you're not giving your inputs, but down in your heart, like probably I'm not able to showcase what I'm thinking, what more opportunities we have. So definitely gradually your morale will be down, definitely the team's morale, right? Then lack of ownership, because that's something that we promote, right? It doesn't matter if it's Agile or somewhere else, but ownership and the courage is very important.
Yeah.
And if you're doing this, definitely you're not going to achieve anywhere really near that kind of a team building. Then the validation, like if you're just accepting, you're not validating, you're not giving your inputs, so basically you're kind of missing the opportunities, right, to have a better value out of it. So yeah, this is a couple of.
I love it. Yeah, I like the part about the ownership because that's really important.
Yes.
It also relates very much to the self-confidence part. So. How about you guys? You were last time, so I thought I'd not have you come last first again.
So, Eric, we think that this can actually cause a loss of trust in ourselves, which can basically cause a mentality shift, and we can actually go from thinkers to just simply doers who will follow whatever order is given. So that is one thing that can happen, which can basically cause, as everyone said, a lack of confidence in us.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much. How about you guys?
So we discussed that there would be lack of ownership, and there would be no accountability, because if we're doing something which others are telling, we'll not hold ourselves accountable for it. Then there would be no personal growth, because we'll be programmed in a manner in which we're just listening to others, and which would be like we'll feel stagnant by doing same monotonous kind of work. And lastly, there'll be no innovation. We'll lose our voice in the process of just doing what others are saying.
Yeah.
Just another one. So if you continue to do this,
if you continue to just follow others and you do not factor in others' opinions, I think we are missing on some of the potential pitfalls because you're not encouraging divergent thinking.
Yeah.
Another idea could actually highlight a pitfall that we could avoid at this stage, but if you're just following an order that came, you're missing out on that feedback. So you probably realize it later, so we can avoid that.
If you want, you can write it on post-its. So. Yeah. I think they're really good. Last but not least, you guys already got your post-its, right?
So we've overproduced, but it's all quality. So the short ones, and then Craig is going to give you the more sophisticated ones. Nothing changes, and there is no growth.
Yep.
Okay, so
there was just one.
So
wow. Oh.
If we don't seek to understand it for ourselves, then we don't actually learn. We might end up doing the wrong thing for too long.
Yep.
It discourages a diversity of opinion and the ability to grow trust in the team. There's groupthink, which has its own dysfunctions, and ultimately there's organizational cultural decay because you're just being told what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
yeah, sorry, the post-its are
Me too.
We'll do better.
My Scrum heart is already broken, so.
We'll do right.
Yeah, indeed. So, okay, we have a whole bunch of causes and effects. This was the easy part because it's quite linear. I ask you to do something and you just find the solution. Now comes the hard bit. Because now we have all this information and we want to create loops. So like the loop I showed you, we want to create a simple loop to understand the situation better. Yeah, and the challenge now is that basically we have this. It's one huge mess. So your tendency is going to be to look here at the board and try to figure it all out. And that's not going to work. I know because I've tried this technique quite a few times, and that's my experience, it doesn't work. That's also the reason I asked you to have to share one cause and effect per table. Nobody ever listens to me about that because everybody gets enthusiastic. So this is hard, so don't feel bad if it's awkward. But what I'm going to ask you now is, as a table, have a look at the information and see if you can come up with some kind of loop. So I was already thinking a bit about possible loops, and we had the confidence thing. So the self-confidence of the developers. That's a recurring theme. And what happens then is, because the team is not self-confident, then we give them more teaching. So one of the effects is that they don't have the expertise. So what happens next is, we get an external expert who does exactly what we don't, what the problem is, who's going to teach the team. Call it external expert. And you can see where the loop goes, because by having an external expert, the self-confidence of the team might actually decrease. I mean, the self-confidence will increase because they learn something new, but the self-confidence of discovering these things for their own exactly what the problem is, that's going to decrease. So this is a typical loop, and once you see that loop, then you can start thinking about how can we break this loop. Yeah, so you could think that external expert, you could have a discussion with management where you tell them, let's skip the external expert and find a way for the team to develop that information for themselves. Yeah, so that's what I usually do with my teams. As I'm a Scrum Master. When I start with a team, usually they have all these ideas of how you should do Scrum. And I do a small workshop, and I just give them 3 things. I teach them about visualization, which is a very, very natural thing to do. Everybody understands that. Then I tell them about Little's Law. Yeah, that's whip limits. And that's a lot of fun, because if you explain whip limits to developers, that you do more by doing a single thing, by doing less, that's like, wow, that's an opportunity. So we can just focus on one thing, and we're actually going to be faster. Developers like that. And last of all, I just teach them about feedback loops. And then I kind of let them decide how to work together. And what I've noticed, with those 3 pieces of information, those principles, my teams will kind of develop Scrum the way it should be. Yeah, and that's beautiful to see. Suddenly we can start talking about sprint goals, one of the hardest things to get done with teams. I've had teams that were very grateful to me that we got rid of the refinement, but then applying those principles, they reached the point where they themselves started asking me, hey, Erik, we would like to have kind of more time to prepare before the sprint goal. Yeah, and then we would have a special meeting, and voila. Yeah, and the power is that I always taught my teams about Scrum. Yeah, and I was relatively good at that, but it always had an impact on the empowerment. People were always asking me for, yeah, what should we do next? And by taking this approach, it's really awkward, because you have all this knowledge and you want to help them. And just by taking a step back and giving them a minimum of information and letting them figure it out for themselves has a huge impact. Yeah, and that's the kind of results that you can achieve by doing these kinds of exercises. Excuse me? The first one? Visualize. Visualize WIPs and feedback loops. And depending on the team, maybe I do double loop learning. So the 2 kinds of feedback loops. It depends on the team. So this is an example. Now it's your turn. I'm going to give you just some time to try to figure out these kind of loops. Just you can use the paper on the table to draw it for yourself as a team, just to help you out. Come and have a look. If you are seeking inspiration, just take your time, figure it out. Any questions? No? Yeah. It's, I advise. Don't look at the whole thing. Choose something that resonates with you. Try to think about your own experience.
Sorry, I've been on call, so I joined as soon as I could.
Welcome. You want to join the fun?
Well, I don't really know what they're doing, so I won't interfere. I'll only just disrupt if I do.
You can probably help them. No, you can join the next one. You guys doing all right? It's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. one of the points that we had was regarding self-confidence. You already took it.
No? Sorry about that. You go and have a look. Maybe you can find some inspiration. Self-confidence, yeah, that's the one I took. Huh? Think about the ones you shared yourselves as a team, because that's something that resonated with you. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing?
Yeah, we're not able to like come up with a logical flow, so we have to put some thought into it.
Yeah.
Struggling to it, and also we cannot record everything that we want.
Go and have a look, please. That's impressive. You guys doing okay?
We decided that we had a discussion about the fact that the system is so complex because there are the causes of the causes of the apparent cause,
Yeah.
consequences of the consequences, and then the unintended consequences.
Yeah. And then you go down the rabbit hole.
So we've not done anything because we figured this exercise maybe is not for us. How's that for being left?
Sorry, the means my client is going to have 5 million questions right now. So
Oh, no, that's too bad. Oh, you guys are doing okay. Okay, so start finishing off your loop diagrams, and choose one person to present them, so we can share them together on the flip over, if you like. So, who's ready? Who wants to present? Who wants to go first? Yeah. Oh. You can draw it on the board. You can just share it, whatever you like. That's a really cool one. Yeah, please share it. So I'm seeing reduced engagement and productivity. So that's a really important one. Productivity. Productivity leads to business impact. That makes sense. Attrition? You mean developers leaving? Lack of innovation?
Which is kind of a closed loop here.
Yeah.
So then we have to do some improvement actions here. Like maybe set up a system of diverse feedback. So kind of closing the loop here. Innovation happening.
Yeah, exactly. Which leads to business impact.
Improve business impact.
Yeah.
Or better business outcomes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. So any questions about this double feedback loop? I don't usually get a double feedback loop in this exercise, so that's really cool. Thank you very much. Who wants to go next? Excuse me? Yeah.
And there's a very strong hierarchy that can lead to a lack of motivation, a sense of purpose, and the solution would be to share purpose.
Guys,
And if done well, it strengthens the hierarchy if you want to. If not done well, it hurts the hierarchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's many ways to look at it.
Yeah.
It's a simple way.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you very much. So how does this exercise feel to you guys? How did it feel to try to figure out that loop? It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, the reason I did this exercise is on the one side to teach you this technique, which is very effective to try to grasp complex problems, but also to let you feel the difference between the first part of the exercise, which was really easy. You just get told what to do and you do it. So literally the problem we're trying to solve. And in the second part, that you really have to start trying to understand the complexity for yourselves. And this is the reason why empiricism is so hard. Yeah, because empiricism, we use it to deal with complexity, and that means that we have to really try to understand these huge problems. I've tried this exercise before with a group of people like you, and sometimes nobody figures out a loop. It's just, and the main reason is because it's too many causes and effects, and it becomes too much, and then it's really hard to find because what you're looking for is actually a simplification of the whole. Yeah, so try to remember that when you're working with your teams, when you're trying to figure out how your organization works. When I start in a company, I try to create a model for myself. I start at my team level, and I'm doing these kind of diagrams for myself. It helps me understand the situation, but it also makes it easier for me to communicate with my team and with management. The question itself, the problem, is also something really important in the Agile world, because it leads to this kind of situation. Yeah, and it's been the subject of a lot of the talks in the last 2 days. Scott Amber was extremely clear about it. Certification, just being told what to do and doing it. Yeah, and I really enjoyed the way you found really the causes that I think are really problematic. Lack of self-empowerment, the lack of innovation. These are all basically the effects of this situation. And if you look at the Agile Manifesto, it's actually more of the same. Yeah, it's basically every value is telling you to do something without the explanation. And that's for me when I started doubting the Agile Manifesto. For me, it works really well, but that's because I've made the effort to understand why these things are in the Agile Manifesto. But just reading them and telling people about it, it's dangerous. People start doing things because I told them to do it, not because they understand it. And I think that leads to the method wars. You know, a few years ago, it was all the teams moving from Scrum to Kanban. Oh my God, such a waste, such a waste. And it's simply because somebody came, marketing, somebody decided that yeah, we should all move to Kanban. And the amount of value that is lost, the self-confidence of the teams, having to completely change their way of working. And in the end, what you're seeing is people fighting about hammers. It's all the same thing. Because if you look at the frameworks, they're all based on the same principles. Yeah, there's a whole set of Agile principles. Think about feedback loops. All the frameworks that you look at, they're designed to create feedback loops. So I did a training, a LESS training. It was by one of my colleagues, so we had a very good conversation. And we discovered that you could have a company that started doing LESS, and as they adopted the framework and evolved, they could actually end up with SAFe. I'll let that sink in. This makes a lot more impression in Europe, because SAFe in Europe, everybody hates it. So Agile principles. I really believe that we have to start thinking of a new set of Agile principles. So for this last exercise, what I want you to do is think about the exercise we did, because it covers some of those possible principles. Try to think deeply about why you do Agile, why you do a daily Scrum, why do you use a sprint goal. Do it in pairs, take turns. So start with one person describing a principle, and the other person should try to encourage. So ask why. Keep asking why until you have the feeling, yes, this is a fundamental principle. Is that clear? And then when you have a fundamental principle, you just switch around, and then we'll share the principles you come up with together. Stick them on the board. Have a chat about them. Is that clear? Any questions? Cool. I'll give you about 5 minutes. Feedback loops. as an example. Visualizing. Yeah, because it's really fundamental. For me, visualizing, if they ask me why is that so fundamental, then I say, what do you do when you have too many things to do? You write them down. And when you see it, suddenly you can make choices. You have the overview. That's how fundamental that is. Yeah, you do it in your own, at home also.
Question each one and find the common fundamental.
Yeah. Yeah, and asking why really helps. So for example, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Why? And then you get an answer, and then it's like, hey, that's interesting. And then why? And then you can dig deeper.
So we need to just read the principle and all of us have to discuss why it is actually required.
No. I want you to think about your own principles. No. Sorry. No, from your own experience doing Agile, your experience with Agile, think about fundamental principles, why they were valuable. Just in your own experience. How nice of you to join us. You guys doing okay? Doing okay?
Which agile value you question first?
You don't need to look at the Agile values. It's the things that you notice in your own experience.
Okay.
Yeah, so think, for example, I don't know, any Scrum Masters? Scrum Master. So you see your team, and they do the daily Scrum, and you see that it has value and a why. And then
based on our experience, actually during one fine events, the dev team was trying to explain one solution to the product owner, but was not understanding it, and actually even the discussion was derailed, because of multiple, because of lack of understanding of the solution which was explained. It is a two-dimensional thing. Okay, one is team thought everyone can understand the solution, and it's a very simple and straightforward solution. But again, since the PO is new to the team, he had no clue what they were talking about.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
even
exactly.
He misunderstood the overall solution.
Yeah.
Because of that, there were a lot of back and forth discussions.
I'm hearing a principle here.
So that's one of the technical experts, he was part of the discussion. They said they will come back with a visual diagram.
Yeah.
Actually, explains the overall solution, and once they had the picture in place, diagram in place, or diagrammatic representation of the solution in place, the entire discussion goes over in 5 minutes. So
Yeah.
it was like a learning for us.
Yeah, exactly.
But we directly connect this to any of the values, but still, this actually explains what the solution the team has identified, right? So going forward, the learning team was to use some diagrams and visuals.
Yeah. So that's it, visualization.
Yeah.
Visualize your
Just
work.
to kind of fill in that communication.
But another interesting principle that you could distill out of there is the fact that the product owner doesn't need to know the solution. You could leave it in the team. The product owner gives the goal and steps back.
Yeah. Since this particular solution has some cost implications,
he wanted to know like why this particular solution or the other one.
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
but when it comes to cost, product ownership, or the details,
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Okay, so who feels like sharing some principles? Come forward and just stick them on the board. Anybody? Principles? Yeah, you got some?
Got a couple.
Excuse me?
We have a couple of things.
Yeah, I'll shout it. I'll write it on the board.
So we have transparency.
Ah, I like that one.
Why? If you don't have transparency, you lose motivation.
Yeah.
And if you lose motivation, it leads to attrition. If you lose attrition, business fails.
Yeah.
The other one is shortening the feedback loop.
Yeah.
If you don't, why do you do it? So that we can continuously improve. If you don't improve, we fail.
Yeah, I like it. Any other principles? Anyone? Back?
Involving stakeholders right through the release team with regular feedback.
That's a nice V, isn't it? Involve stakeholders.
Shorter deployments lead to early feedback.
Yeah?
You're delivering the product in short deployment.
Anybody else?
Yes, we have delivered incremental value working software instead of detailed documentation and design.
Yeah. Deliver value? Can I summarize it like that? Anybody else? So this exercise probably felt a bit uncomfortable. That was the whole idea. I think in Agile, one of the most important things we need to do is to start taking responsibility for our own problems. Yeah, and I think principles is another example. The principles that you get taught, they're only valuable if they work for you. So I have developed these principles. For me, these are the Agile principles. And I think I started by trying to collect these kind of principles. I looked at different frameworks, trying to find out what the essence of agility was. And then I realized that principles have a context. And if you think about agility, the real innovation in agility is the mental power of individuals. It's involving the workforce. And in order to involve the workforce effectively, you need a new set of principles. It's not about the things you have to do, the principles we're used to. It's about a new way of thinking. And I think that these principles are the ones that are most effective to try to develop that mindset. So, first of all, take responsibility. I think one of the most dangerous things you can do in your organization is give the problem to somebody else. It's the reason why Agile transitions don't work. Because an organization gives up the responsibility and gives it to a bunch of consultants. Yeah, that means that the consultants own the problem, but also the solution. So I think agility is very much about being a little bit arrogant, maybe. And I'm not saying you can't ask for help, and you can't invite a consultant who will give you information, as long as you take you keep the responsibility for yourself. You can ask someone for advice. The important thing is that you make the decision yourself. Yes, sometimes it will go wrong, but that's also part of agility. You learn from those mistakes. Second, you have to be a learner. The only way that you can take responsibility is if you have the knowledge to make those decisions, to find the solutions. So I love to read. That's my way of learning. But talking with people, coming to conferences is also a way of learning. YouTube, fantastic resource for learning. And don't try to be too focused with your learning. In my experience, you can learn things about your work from very strange sources. One of my favorite writers is Yuval Harari. He's a historian. And in his books about history, you get to understand human psychology a lot better. And it can have a big impact on your work. You have to be critical. That's essential. You can get all this information, but information is just knowledge. Being critical is wisdom. It's the ability to use that knowledge effectively. And Niels Ross was talking about it today, about being an academic, validating. Yes, of course.
Welcoming changing requirements.
Yeah.
And one of the authors says, we welcome the ability to respond to requirements that may change. That's a capability.
Yeah.
Changing requirements is just people work.
Yeah. 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 And you need to be critical in order to be able to take that decision. Yeah, and for me, this is a very good example of how I try to measure the effectiveness of my teams. I don't look at things like velocity and all that stuff. No, I look at the way they respond when, for example, requirements change. Do they accept it? Or do they look at it critically and try to explain why we shouldn't change that requirement? Next one, be creative. Agile is very young. If you think about scientific management, we've been developing that for more than 200 years. And there's still improvements. I think lean is more an improvement of scientific management than it really is part of agility. So if you think that Agile has only been around for 20 years, there's so much more to learn. There's so much innovation. We're so stuck in all the old tools, such as metrics. In a complex system, by definition, metrics don't work. It's not good enough. You can use metrics to sense what's going on, but you need something else to be able to really understand the complex system, such as causal loop diagrams. You need to be humble. Once you start developing this mindset, you get self-confident. And that leads to arrogance. I've seen it happen with teams. And if you get arrogant, then you forget to be critical. You get overconfident. So it's really important to be humble. I think scientists show that humbleness by repeating and repeating their experiments. Second guessing yourself. That's part of being humble. You want to be 100% sure that what you're doing is actually working. That's the whole idea of doing experiments, using your sprints as experiments. And finally, be a teacher. All this knowledge, all this mindset, it takes shape when you start teaching somebody else. There's a saying that says, you become a master when you start teaching people, when you have the self-confidence and the mastery of your work, of your choice and field, that you're actually able to teach other people. And basically, for me, that's the solution for empiricism, the way we use it. Because in Agile, this is the scientific method, which is basically the original implementation of empiricism. You can compare the scientific method, the relationship between the scientific method and empiricism with the relationship between Scrum and agility. Agility is the philosophy, so to speak. Scrum is the implementation. So the scientific method is an implementation of empiricism. And if you look at things like the PDCA cycle, it's basically also an implementation of empiricism. But what you see very often in organizations is a very different loop. It's almost like, try stuff out, and then you find out what the results are. If it worked, yes, we made it. If it didn't work, well, we'll try something else. And just, that's evolution. That's not empiricism. Yeah, it's missing the most important part of the empirical system, which is understanding the problem, formulating the hypothesis. Yeah, and for me, this diagram represents that idea. Yeah, it's all the people who are working so terribly hard to move the cart with the square wheels. And it's the person who's not working and is taking the time to think about the problem, who figures out the round wheels. And I've seen this happen in my organizations. I see Scrum Masters working with trying to figure out the velocity, doing the metrics, preparing these extensive retrospectives, and they're so busy. And they're so busy that they don't see the big problems anymore. And if you take a step back and forget all that stuff, and you find that one bottleneck, and you fix that, and suddenly you're making progress, doing twice the work for half the time. Ooh. Twice the value for half the time. Does that sound better? So maybe you thought I'd come up with a whole list of principles like this. So I thought I'd share this one with you. This is more or less as far as I got. These are the principles that work for me. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have Agile principles, but the important thing is I've used that mindset, being critical, being curious, to examine every single one of these principles. And I know they work for me. It's a personal thing. An example of a principle that doesn't work for me is metrics. I'm too skeptical, and I'm too lazy to do all the measuring and stuff. So I find all the principles which work for me, and you should do the same. For your personality, in the context of your organization, be critical and find the principles that work for you. So that's it. Thank you very much. We have some time for questions. Any questions? Let me get the microphone.
Yeah, thanks, Erik. You mentioned that we have to find our own principles. Yeah, that's fine. But in my organization, there is leadership, there is management who want to see some data, right? Me just claiming that the team is doing good, team is doing better, or we are following these principles, look how we are doing good, kind of thing, right? But there is always a ask for validating it with data, right? It cannot just be conceptual. So how do we deal with those situations, right?
What I like to do with my teams is design experiments. So when I do a retrospective with my teams, I don't use all kinds of fancy diagrams and templates. I just try to have a conversation with them. We're trying to find out a problem we all believe is the most important thing. And then we talk about which actions we can take. But I don't stop there. Then I try to design an experiment with my team. And metrics are a part of that experiment. How are we going to measure the change we make? And that's a very effective way of recovering the trust in metrics in the team. And as soon as you start taking that kind of steps, then you can start involving other metrics. So the fact that we use metrics is not the problem. Metrics are valuable. The important thing is about being very critical about them, knowing when they are valuable. To give you an example, I worked at an organization where they used reliability as a metric. So if a team committed 10 user story points and they delivered 10, they had 100% reliability. Very good team, yay! If they overcommitted, then I think the limits were 75% and 125%. If you fell outside, you were a bad team. You were not reliable. And yeah, that's rubbish. Personally, as a Scrum Master, I think if you're not taking risks, if you're not learning, if you're so reliable, there's something wrong with the team. So I had a team, and what did we do? We used Jira. And in Jira, if you fill the commitment with a 0, you will actually get 100% reliability because Jira doesn't understand why you would fill in 0, so it divides 0 by 0. Yeah, management, I waited for months until management would catch up and come tell me off. They never did. Yeah, because a lot of those rules are not really rules. Yeah, and that comes, again, with that mindset, being critical, making an experiment with management to see if it's really that important. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Good?
I have to figure out what kind of design experiment I can do.
You have to judge for yourself how far you can go, which things. One of the things I did at a different organization was that we used velocity. And all the teams were filling in the velocity. So what I did is I used the REST API of Jira and I automated the whole process. So management was happy and the teams, they didn't have to bother with it anymore. Yeah, that's thinking out of the box. That's the guy with the wheel. Any other questions? Nobody? I like questions.
Where does productivity sit into all of this?
Oh, that's a very good question. Productivity, and you mean productivity of the teams, of course. Yeah, I think we play the short-term game too much. I think productivity is the short-term metric. I think that in agility we're trying to build the teams, and that takes time. We're playing the long term. I am convinced that if you invest in the teams, if you empower them, give them the ability to self-organize, give them purpose, that productivity will come along for itself. And I've seen it happen with a variety of teams. It's the moment when the team realizes how much power they have, the moment they realize we can demand that we just have one sprint goal and we're going to go for it, you see awesome things happen.
Is there a good way of measuring productivity?
Yeah, there's different ways of measuring it, but I think the bottom line is that you don't need to measure the effectiveness of a team. If you have involved management and you have transparency of the goals you're trying to achieve, and you're actually seeing the goals being achieved, then that's it. That's all you need to know, because it's about achieving all those goals. The metrics, it's like driving a car. If I drive a car, I can see the speed of the car, I can see the oil pressure, and all those things. But when I'm driving, I keep my eyes on the road. Because I might be doing the speed limit, but if all the other cars are zooming past, and I'm going to have an accident. Yeah, so all those gauges, they're there to help me, but they're not as important as keeping your eyes on the road. And I think with agility, with teams, it's the same thing. All the metrics, they're there to help you sense things. But in the end, look at the team. My father is a grower. He measures all kinds of things with the plants that he works with. But he goes to the farm every 3 days a week, because he needs to see the plants to understand what the metrics mean. Anybody else? Well, thank you very much. You've been an awesome audience. If you like what I talk about, I have a blog, Agile Thoughts, on Substack. You can check my articles. And please link LinkedIn, join with me, and we can have more conversations about this. Thank you very much.